us to respond to and talk about. So no, we're cruising, mate, I reckon.
Yeah, awesome. Mate, I've never had the drink.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but I am really curious to see how
nice.
how it all works.
I didn't know if you had some. I'm like, when we get stock, we'll send you some. But we can't send you anything at the moment.
Mate, is this about? Mate, I couldn't freaking find it anywhere.
Really?
Dan Murphy's, nowhere's got them. But here we go. Drove around all around Melbourne to get these. Are you supposed to refrigerate them, or are you just supposed to just drink them?
The better cold.
Way better cold.
For the purpose of just neck it anyway.
I asked the guy.
Yeah.
I asked the guy at BWS. I'm like, man, have you had this? And he said no. I said, hey, you're supposed to drink it cold, and he's like, no, you can just drink it warm or cold, whatever you want. I'm like, okay.
As long as it works, mate. It was good for you either way, that's for sure.
What does it taste like?
Apple juice, I reckon. A little bit weird, funky apple juice.
Oh, man, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's super sweet.
It's like a baby drink.
It is a little bit, isn't it? It obviously looks like one, but it's got that little nice sweetness about it. But it's bloody good for you.
Is it?
Yeah, very, very good for you. It's like a whole pear in one and the cream. We'll talk about it, but yeah, it's bloody good for you.
Well, it's got nothing but Korean pear.
Nothing.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Robert Baharian, and this is Masters in Investing. On this show, I talk to guests about financial markets, the economy, investing, and business. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us an awesome review. Let's get into it. My guests today are Liam and Tim from Bae Juice, an Aussie startup whose products are now stocked all across the country. We talk about what it takes to start a business, the overnight success that actually took 10 years, the power of relationships, and why saying yes more often than no is actually a good thing. I hope you enjoy my conversation. Let's get into it. Liam, Tim, Bae Juice boys, welcome to Masters in Investing.
Thank you. Good to be on here. Happy days.
Boys, so I'm just having this for the first time.
Yeah,
one full pair?
One whole pair. One big Korean pear.
Nuji? Is that where it's from? Where's it from?
What's that?
Naju.
Naju, yeah. Very famous for the pear.
What's so famous about it?
The pear's been grown for it's like an icon of Korea, you could almost say. Thanksgiving's coming up actually in September, and that's where every person in Korea gifts each other with pretty much Korean pears. Really.
Yeah, right.
That's the core of it. But it's just
Should
been around
I go
forever.
grab a beer now?
Why not? You may as well. It's 2:00, whatever day it is. But yeah, mate, it's very famous, very good for you. It's been around forever, and it's got lots of different health benefits, so they love it.
Yeah, awesome. So, boys, I'm really curious. Can you just give us maybe a bit of a flashback as to, what were you doing? Were you just getting pissed in Korea and just stumbled across this and it worked like an old mother's tale remedy and it kind of worked miraculously? What's the urban legend?
You nailed it then pretty much.
Really?
Yeah. It's as simple as that. There was there's no real thought process or planning or preparation for it. It was literally me and one of our business partners, Sumin. We were traveling around Korea. I was meeting all the family sort of in the countryside in Seoul. It was awesome. So I had a pretty big boozy sort of few months, meeting friends, fam, just drinking every day. And that's when Sumin and a few of her friends actually gave me the Korean pear and said, make sure you eat or make sure you drink this because it's in all different formats. This shit helps your hangovers. It legit does. My parents drink it. My granny drinks it when she decides to have a drink. So it did. So it had that sort of mother's tale angle to it, which was sick. And then Sumin's mum's talking about, the health benefits. She had it during pregnancy. You have it after working out. It's high in fiber. So it's this wonder fruit that I'd never heard of. And especially when I came back to Melbourne and told Liam and we went sort of through the market research and the case studies of it and all that, he'd never really heard of it or tried it or even seen it. So yeah, mate, it was one of those things. We stumbled across it in Korea, was hooked on it. There's research on it. There's different drinks sort of in Asia that sort of use the Korean pear a lot. And that's when we just sort of became obsessed with it, really, reading reports and placebo studies and all this sort of stuff. And it all proved and lent towards the Korean pear helped you hangover. So we were pretty much hooked from that day. 4.5, it's been like 4 years. We've spoken about Korean pear every day since, I reckon. Seriously, it's out of control.
So how did you know? So Liam, you weren't in Korea at the time?
At the time, no.
And how do you guys know each other?
From school. Yeah,
cool.
So we go back since 2005. 2005 we go back to.
And so, Tim, when were you in Korea at the time?
So visiting the first time was the end of 2017. That was my first time there, and that was the first time trying the pear, which was awesome. And then it wouldn't have been, and then we sort of went back to the middle of 2018 for a holiday / to find a manufacturer and put this thing together. So yeah, it was that first time trying 2017. Second time in 2018, it was on the pear juice hunt.
And then what happened from 2018? And here we are in 2021. You guys are now in, and tell me if I'm wrong, in Woolworths and BWS and your online store as well. I don't know if you're anywhere else, but like, how did you go from just drinking in South Korea to putting this stuff into Aussie shelves at Woolies and BWS?
Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy process, really. And one that I find the more I look back on, the less I remember, if you know what I mean. Like, it was so hectic and we didn't really have much strategy or money or experience. So we kind of we got hooked on it. We'd given it to hundreds of people. They all loved it. Friends, family, friends of friends, whoever. We just gave the pear to. And it was in a Korean writing, well packaged we brought it from Korea. And then we found it at a few little boutique Korean stores, but they only had sort of 10 or 12 of them. So we would just buy them every time, give them to people. Everyone loved it. And we go, right, we've just got to do this. And that was when me and Sumin flew back to Korea sort of 6 months later after the first visit, and met her dad and her auntie. And we said, look, we need to find a manufacturer of this Korean pear. And it was sort of 3 days later, we found ourselves in another state in Korea on a bus for an hour and a bullet train. And we're in this quite sort of really cool agricultural sort of area. And that's where we sort of had our first meeting, told them what we wanted to do, told them how much Aussies love drinking, and spoke about the attendance at the Spring Carnival, attendance at Grand Final. And besides, you got your college and your state, like having 100,000 people at a stadium for a party or an event, it's pretty huge. So they were sort of really into it and all the retail opportunities, and that we're going to be the first to the market with the pear. So they were in straight away. They gave us a tour, gave us hairnets, gumboots, and we were walking around the facilities, and they pretty much said to us, if you can go back to Australia, set up a company, build a strategy, and put together a brand, we'll happily manufacture this for you and we'll be your supplier. So I guess that was when the three of us, me, Sumin and Liam, we touched back down, we got together, set up a little space in my parents' study, bang, we were off. It's, what are we going to call this thing? How do we set up a bank account? What the hell happens with tax and GST and all the other shit you got to do when you run a business? Like, I'm a barista, Liam was real estate, Sumin was a hairdresser. So we had real no clue what we're doing. We had to get barcodes done. We had to get safety checks on the product for shelf life. It was just, it was nuts. And we had no idea what we're doing, but I think it was just reaching out to people, leveraging off each other, doing big whiteboard sessions and late nights. And you can more often not come up with the answers if you look hard enough. So that was that sort of first crazy process. And it wasn't until January 2019 we had our first container arrive. And that was pretty crazy. That was the old, like I always say this, would never even sent a letter in the mailbox. I still haven't yet either, to anyone ever before. And here we are bringing 40-foot containers of like 8,000 kilos of Korean pear juice from, Southeast Asia to Australia. So it was crazy, man. Like I no wonder I can't remember half of it. We were just trying to figure it out the whole time and trying to build a brand. We had 41 versions of volumes of our packaging, whether it was colors and names. Where does our Instagram go? Where's the barcode go? So it was just pure madness. But it's quite amazing to look back from trying it, going back, sourcing it, bringing it to Australia, building a brand, getting our first shipment. So that was that sort of first half of it. Maybe Liam can sort of touch on what we did after that. But it was pretty wild, really. But it was an amazing experience.
So the juicer you've got now that's packaged up in this thing here, you guys found the manufacturer in Korea. It's not like you go and find someone who already makes the pear into a juice and then just label it Bae Juice and import it. Like, you have the pears harvested, you have them, I don't know, crushed or whatever, and juiced up into your own thing, and then shipped over here for you guys?
Sort of. No, we did that first part. So we found the largest manufacturer of Korean pear juice.
Right.
With full confidence, without even having set up a business account yet, full confidence we needed to find the most volume for when we run out in a few years. But so we looked for the biggest straight away. But no, they were already producing Korean pear juice into sachets. The only modification we did was sourcing the cap. So they had it like hardcore, like Sunny Boy style. We got to rip and cut the side and dip it. So we sourced the cap and sort of did a bit of NPD on that. Not that it's extensive. And that's what we've come up with.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then so you've got the product. How much of the, if you think about young or older people or entrepreneurs here in Australia, especially post-COVID, who are in the food game or in any other game for that matter, who are trying to run a business or start a business, there's a lot of talk about, and there's a reason why people go and manufacture overseas, right? It's a lot cheaper. Maybe people are a lot more accommodating than what they might be here in Australia as well. What do you think? Was the connection in Korea the key to being able to find a manufacturer there where you've got a nice warm introduction, or was that not part of the equation?
Well, what do you reckon, Liam? I think the example that comes straight to my head, and this just sort of explains it beautifully. There's a small boutique competitor that's in maybe 20 stores, and it started a couple of years ago, and their RRP is almost double our price, and it's all done in Australia. So they're just under $8. Ours is $4. We get it done overseas; they get it done locally. So I think that sort of mirrors straight away the balance of sourcing it locally and not locally. And then for them, for a small business, the investments are double the price of ours. And they can't guarantee they'll sell the stock as a new product. So for us, we can roll in with a really nice wholesale price that isn't too confronting. Boom, we're on. Shelf-ready packaging, everything's done, all done in Korea. We just send it from A to B. So it's quite smooth and seamless, besides the difficulty with freight forwarding and the marine cost and shipping. But you can see straight away our RRP is $4, competitors sort of high $7. So it's a big investment for someone to buy.
Yeah, totally. And so what advice would you boys give to someone who's setting up here, who wants to be able to manufacture? I mean, the fact that with COVID now, we can't really be traveling the world and inspecting manufacturers and wholesalers and things like that. Like, how do people here in Australia go about running and getting their business off the ground, where we don't have the luxury of having contacts in Korea or any other place for that matter? I mean, what's your advice to these people?
It's a good question. Like, there's so many points you'd want to touch on with that one, but essentially, like, we were always big on, obviously price is a huge thing, and for $4 RRP for 120 mils doesn't sound like much, but psychologically,
I paid $5 for this, man. At BWS.
Oh yeah, through the bottle is different.
$4.99. So it's like I just think the $5 barrier is such a big sort of mental,
like a psychological barrier where
it's the coins versus the notes kind of deal as well. So I suppose, like, you can get anything done here probably in Australia at the moment, but with ours, we're big on sort of paying respects to Korean culture, and sort of the way we like to describe it is a lot of companies, they do their products or trends or whatever that's big in Eastern culture or Western culture, and take it over to Asia. We're sort of doing the reverse. We're taking these sort of, like you said, these mother's tales, wives' tales kind of things like the Korean pear, which are sort of actually work, and we're introducing them into our culture. So it was always important for us to get our product manufactured over in South Korea. To pay homage, to go to and find the biggest manufacturer of the pear, to go and make sure the manufacturer is located, essentially where the Korean pear was born. And, so it was always very, important for us to keep the traditional angle, and I sort of think that, if we wanted to get our Korean pears grown in sort of sunny Queensland or tropical Queensland, wherever the best climate to grow them in Australia would be, it sort of doesn't make them Korean pears. So I suppose it sort of really depends on, you know, what product you're really sort of introducing or what, you know, what you want your business to be. But I suppose, you know, the other thing as well that we have to do with the shipping is, yes, it's cheaper to get manufacturing over there, but when, you know, shit hits the fan like it does now with COVID, you know, we're almost paying double what it comes to get in. It takes longer to get here. So, you know, it's not necessarily when you want to get it started. It's just make sure what is easiest for your business to operate out. You know, what's a great process that you can get down that is sort of, you know, now it's got to be pandemic proof. It's got to be pandemic proof.
What were you going to say, Tim?
I just think it was like, in terms of some advice for people that are launching a product, is Liam went door to door to 100 stores in the first 12 months. And people don't do that anymore. We know for a fact because people asked how we did it.
Let's talk about that, man. Let's go into that, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, and then we touched base with people that we told you need to go to 50 stores, 100 stores to learn about your product, the pricing, the reaction, to talk to the manager about how did customers engage with the product, any feedback, any repurchases. It's really unbelievable information. And that's what Liam did for about sort of the first 12 to 18 months. Just door to door, IGA, Bottle-O, Cafe. And that's the difference. And people aren't doing that because we touch base with them 6 months later and they go, did you mean any stores? They go, oh, no, we tried to hire some sales rep, or no, we couldn't do it. We didn't have time. It's like, well, like, that's 100 stores. That's cash flow. It's sales. It's brand awareness. You can leverage off it. You know, you can post on Instagram, win a new store, and everyone messages you going, unbelievable job. Well done, boys. That's huge. You got into 2 stores. You know, so it's like, that's all the hustle. Like, that's what it is.
Is it how underrated is what you're just talking about? So, you know, someone goes and hires a rep to go do all the hard yards, so to speak. But you know, if you're starting a brand new company and a brand like yours, where Liam, you talk about, and as much as I can probably dumb it down and say it's about the narrative, and it's a lot of this is marketing too. And I absolutely hear you, man, where you talk about Korean Bae Juice, that it's grown in Korea, produced in Korea, manufactured in Korea. And we bring that part and parcel bundled up here to Australia, rather than growing it in sunny North Queensland, for example.
Correct.
And so you've got the narrative there. And the reason why I'm saying that is because presumably then no one's going to pitch the pitch or have the passion or the advocacy that you have, because this is something that you know, Tim, you said you've bristed, Liam, you're in real estate. No one's going to believe this shit more than you, right? And I'm just wondering how important is, you know, wearing the soles of your shoes down, going door to door, walking the footpath with, I don't know, boxes and boxes of stuff, and literally trying to get product in people's hands. How important is that?
The most important thing, really, at the end of the day. And like, one disclaimer to that is, you know, we're pretty fortunate, Tim and I, in the sense that our background, doing something like that, whether it be for your own brand or for someone else, kind of came habitually. It's pretty natural. You know, we started, one of our first jobs outside of school was sort of door knocking for the Peter McCallum Cancer Foundation, trying to get sort of monthly donations there. So, you know, we're going door to door in, you know, all over Melbourne just to do that for, you know, on a 100% commission-based structure. You know, so it's knock doors or don't make money, basically. And then, you know, Tim goes down a different path, but I go into real estate, and it's, you know, dropping brochures off when you've got a property that you're trying to sell, or, you know, when you're trying to list a property, it's still going door to door and speaking to different owners. So it's just been part of my life, that shit, since, you know, I finished school. So when it came to trying to get having a product there and putting it up on, you know, all these different e-commerce platforms, it's great, but, you know, it's not really real until it's on the shelf for us. So, so that's just something that was, you know, we always planned to do it. We always, you know, even day one when the shipment arrived, it wasn't about going into stores, but we had stock that we were driving around, going door to door to our friends, giving them stock. So it was always just making sure that we were just putting product in people's hands. And I just feel anyway, with all that shit, like if I hadn't had any of that experience with door knocking, I think it still would have just sort of come naturally anyway, with just how I am. It's just, you know, got to get the product there. And, you know, you might visit 10 IGAs with your juice or whatever it might be. And 3 of them, you know, everyone's busy. They've got a job to do. They might engage with you. They might not. You know, they might just say yes, but give you the yes. It's like yes, piss off, please, and we'll put it on, which is when follow-up becomes really important. But also there might be 2 or 3 out of them that really appreciate that it's the owner going door to door.
That's the difference.
And they fucking love it.
Why is that the difference? Why?
Because then you get to build a great relationship with them. So when they call you 2 weeks down the track or 2 months down the track when they've ordered a couple of times, and they say, "Can I get a couple of boxes?" You say, "Well, how about you have 5?" They say yes, because you sort of build that relationship with them. It could be like a matey relationship, it could be a professional relationship, whatever it is. It's a friendly face. I always pick up the phone like they're my best mate. How you going? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And eventually you get to the point where I've got great relationships with so many of the independents around here. Pran Convenience Store, Sam, he's a legend down there. He's got one in sort of Elwood as well. He calls me and I tell him how much to order. So,
I love that.
So that's just like, so it's almost the most important thing, relationships as well. And
you can't have a relationship like that, Liam, with everyone that stocks your product, right?
No, you can't. It's impossible.
You get the foot in the door. So, I think in the summary out of this section is we wouldn't be in Woolworths, Dan Murphy's or BWS if we hadn't grinded the first 100. I think that's a nice summary for anyone out there. We hadn't worn the soles off our shoes, used some of our skills and just pitched our own products, we wouldn't have got into we're in almost 2,000 stores now. We'd probably still be in 100 because we would have got a couple of small boutique retailers and that's it. So that's the difference. That's that 2,000 store difference by grinding on your ass for the first 12 months, I think, in summary.
The other thing is with that is as well is like, the way you could sort of perceive this conversation like, we're in Moores, we're Dan Murphy's, we're in BWS. We don't care about the little guy anymore. It's just IGA. But the first time we got into an IGA, the first one was in South Yarra. Toorak Road, South Yarra, right across the road from South Yarra Station. That was a fucking big deal for us at the time. And a lot of people were like, holy shit, like, that's awesome. Just one store.
Yeah. And then, so Tim, you said before, you said Liam can take over the rest after you sort of brought it here. Maybe, Liam, if I can ask you then, that second half of you going from wearing the soles of your feet down, knocking on the doors of IGAs and independents and things like that. Like, what happened from there on in? Like, what was the thing that kind of broke it and you're like, okay, now we're on. This is now happening. Not because of the fact that you had pallets of shipments coming in. That wasn't it. But like, what was the thing where it made you go, all right, boys, we're on. This is happening.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've kind of always felt that it's weird, but I felt that kind of from day one anyway, when the product got here. But I suppose like our biggest sort of our biggest milestone now would probably be a trial that we got in Dan Murphy's in August of last year. Like, it's crazy, it's only last year, but so we applied for Dan Murphy's a couple of times just through really just being representing ourselves, really not having any idea of what certain terminologies meant or how best it was to present to these different category managers and buyers for these bigger brands. And we got a couple of consultants on, George and Christian, Thrive Collective Consultants, shout out there for them. But we had said no, we'd been given the no from Dan Murphy's twice. And then, we're sort of talking strategy with Christian and George on the phone with a weekly call that we normally do. And it was sort of around them knowing someone who works at Dan Murphy's and, they know that there's a trial coming up and maybe we can see if we can get ourselves in there. And it was a real Hail Mary, I reckon, back then, sort of thinking, fuck it, let's just give it a go. Because I reckon it was probably 2 months after they said no to us from actually getting range. So we thought we were no chance, and they turned around and said yes. And we were sort of all of a sudden stocked in 16 different stores, sort of 11 here 10 in Vic and 6 up in New South Wales, which is awesome. And at the time you're going, this is great. We get to make noise about it. We get to align our Bae Juice logo with the Dan Murphy's logo, well-known brand. It's so fucking exciting, all that shit. So I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to be swearing, but
that was big moments
at the start. But it was a huge moment for us, and then you get there and you go, right, now we got to sell it. So the real confidence comes from when you get emails of new orders being placed for stores, and this state wanting 2 pallets. That's the real excitement, and that's that's where you just get more and more confident because you go, right, so there's people that are going in, and especially when you're in a retailer now, which we have been for almost a year at Woolworths, and the numbers are growing each month. So, we're on the right path.
I think the PR side as well, if I can touch on that. So that was the retail side, but the digital side and the online worlds, we had articles with Daily Mail, Broadsheet, Urban List, News.com, Inside FMCG, industry-related stuff, lifestyle-related stuff. We put together a press release and we just blasted it. And the Daily Mail did a feature on 3 young people, a barista, the same narrative that we already told you. They did the same narrative, and we had like 5,500 people visit our website that hour. Like, it was out of control.
Wow.
All our pink pictures everywhere. There's pictures of us at restaurants from 2 years ago that they found on Instagram about the 3 of us. And it was just sick. Like, we blew up. We did like tons of sales online. People that were ignoring us over the last few months, all of a sudden, hey, Tim, hey, Liam, good to hear from you. I know we didn't reply to you, but, we thought we'd pop up again. So all of a sudden, people started approaching us rather than us being all desperate. So the PR side of things in that first large retailer was like, well, here we go.
So I've got a few questions on that. There's 3 things that are coming to my mind. Liam, to your point before about knocking on the door of Dan Murphy's, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are starting their own businesses and setting up product and trying to get into whether it's independents or bigger stores, or it doesn't even necessarily need to be in food or drink. Like, it could be in something else. Like, Dan Murphy's knocked you back twice, right? And you talk to Christian and George, they kind of say, hey, we know the guys here. And there's a connection there that starts to sort of spark another conversation. In the absence of that, if you didn't have Christian and George, right, like, what do you think that likelihood would have been, in all honesty, of getting back into Dan Murphy? Because they've told you to piss off, basically, right? That's what they said.
Yeah. Well, they said
no. They said no. We don't have to throw under the bus.
One of the best things about Christian and George is, like, when we first get in, try to apply for Dan Murphy's, was like, it was very through someone else. We didn't really have a direct contact there. So there wasn't a communication line between Bae Juice and a direct contact to Dan Murphy's. It was always through a supplier portal that you sort of upload different sort of decks pitching your product, basically. Yep. And the great thing with Christian and George with us, is that they've got relationships. So even when we do get a no from a retailer, we're getting a no and then reasons why. We're not just getting a no and then going, fuck, what was it? Was it the product itself? Was it timing just wasn't right? Or was it, there's all different reasons why you don't stock the product. And a lot of them aren't because the person doesn't like your product. It's got to do with timing and performance of other SKUs and other brands.
Yeah. But having a point of contact there is really important, is what you're saying.
Well, it's like having someone at the IJ. It's just a relationship.
Relationship
business, So, and it's also important as well because so many, like, sometimes it feels like these people, these buyers and these category managers sort of chop and change positions and roll around more than some international footballers. So, there are different clubs, they're in different positions. So, you want to know that information as well. So it's very, very important.
That's actually a really good point, Liam, because more or less you and your product is at the mercy of, in the hands of someone who might not even be there in 2 weeks' time.
100%.
And then they've gone. You're there in the dark, waiting for a response from Dan Murphy's or BWS or whoever it is. Meanwhile, Frank, the product manager, left 3 weweeks ago.
Yeah. Well, we had a category manager position change mid-ranging at Dan Murphy's, pretty much. Where the one buyer said, "Yep, no worries, love your product. Let's range it in the stores." And then 2 weeks later, when we were sort of sorting out the particulars, said, "Oh, by the way, I'm leaving this position and moving elsewhere, and this is the new person," which is also as well a little bit scary because now you're dealing with sort of someone who
start again almost.
You don't know what role they had in the decision making.
And Tim, you were talking about a collective sort of PR pitch where you went across different mediums. Like a lot of startups and a lot of companies may not have the financial resources to engage a PR agency to be able to put together, a communication like that. So it sounds like it was really important to help give you guys a bit of a boost, because it sounds like you guys have been knocking on a lot of doors, sending a lot of emails, and just donuts. You don't hear back from these, and you follow up and follow up and follow up. So what I'm hearing from you is that's totally normal. If you're pitching to people and emailing and people aren't responding, don't take it personally. It's not just you. It's people are busy. They're getting emails out of the blue. So don't sweat it. Right. Is that right?
Well, I think there's one really good example. Oh, there's a couple actually, and that's the classic LinkedIn, typing in journalist, finding a couple of people that have covered similar stories in the beverage space, the party space, hangover space, career space, whatever it might be that has some relation to what we're doing. And we've got a press release we've whipped up that we didn't do, that one of Liam's ex-colleagues did. Again, just reaching out to your network, getting assistance with a press release, which takes them 5 minutes, and bang, we got a professional one ready to go. So again,
you don't have to engage a national or international PR agency to be able to do this stuff for you guys.
We've never had. We don't have one. We didn't have one at the start either. We couldn't afford it.
Our last press release was actually done by a girl who serves us beer at the local pub, at our local pub, who's studying PR and wants to get into PR. And we said, fine, write us a press release. So
and she did.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, cool.
It was. So just branching out. So we've always been good at that. But what was the most important thing is I'd hit up this one lady, the news.com article we had. Her name's Alexis, and she's an absolute champ. And I saw lots of correlation between what she writes about and what I wanted to do a piece about with her. I hit her up, no reply. I hit her up, no reply. I hit her up, and she'd seen it and no reply. And I was sort of like, bugger, damn it. And whilst I felt like I was annoying at the same time, I just kept going. So I hit her up one more time. So this is our fourth time. And she goes, hey, Tim, oh my God, I'm so sorry I haven't replied. So here I am thinking I'm absolutely bugging her out. And she goes, I'm so sorry I haven't replied. I have looked through what you originally sent, but it just was bad timing. Now COVID's really hit and everyone's at home feeling a bit flat. I've had your story in the back of my mind, and I'd love to call you and speak for about an hour, get some quotes from you and your business partners, and we'll do a huge article on you on news.com. Here I was thinking I was annoying her, but no, it was just in the back of her mind. She's got lots of things going on. She's a journalist, so she's typing, she's story writing. It's a lot to handle, all these different conversations. So she popped up and said, nah, here we go. Thanks for hitting me up. The timing's right now. I'm ready. So here we are. Isn't that incredible? I thought I was really annoying her, and maybe I was being a bit of a pest. But the result was she did an article. We did $5,000 worth of sales in however long, because 10,000 people saw it in the first 5 seconds. I had friends, cousins, people from overseas messaging me like, I've seen your article. Daily Mail's copied it now. So the Daily Mail posted it again hours later. And we're off and running. So just keep in mind that there was no PR fee. All we did was ask our friend at the pub to write the article. We've done 5Ks worth of sales in a matter of minutes, which is what the retainer would have cost. So we're at a pretty good margin now with our PR. And the brand awareness was up high. We're leveraging off it. We're hitting up other media saying, look what people are writing about us. Why don't we do a tailored version of this for your audience? And we're away. So that's a very cost-effective, good revenue way to do some PR, which we've always been pretty good at, I reckon, as a team.
100%. And yeah, the message there is that we don't hate PR agencies. There's PR agencies out there that are
some grippers.
Bloody good. They're very, very good. It just wasn't plausible for us at the time. We weren't one of the brands that started, with 250K in the bank, from either an angel investor or someone who saw potential in us. We started with $5,000 between us, and we pissed 35 grand down the drain in the first 6 months on different things as well. So, when we came to the time saying, let's get an article happening, we really didn't have the money there to pay a PR agency. So that's sort of how we've always done it. We're getting to a stage now, which is great that we can, we're looking in actually engaging a PR agency and sort of getting us on some different platforms. But,
so shout out to any PR agents listening. Bae Juice looking for a new PR agent.
Yeah. Sorry, just to finish that off, if you're willing to sort of spend 2 months going back and forth on LinkedIn and messaging people without getting a response and things like that, then definitely just try and get the PR yourself.
I think maybe if you're really committed and you're at a point where you don't have angel investment or you don't have capital that's backing you, and you kind of you are the capital, the human capital that needs to push this thing. and drive it. Because a lot of people just see all of a sudden no one, well, don't take this literally. No one knew Bae Juice, but now everyone knows Bae Juice.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just happened like that. Yet no one hears the stories of flying to Korea, back, manufacturing, trying to, we were chatting before, and you got to put these damn tent. Because I looked at this, I'm like, why have they got this really good packaging, and then they've got this shitty little sticker they've stuck manually on it? Like, why has that happened? And you've told me the story about that and what's happened. So you encounter all these things, but no one really sees that. And it's, the overnight success. And LinkedIn, I think, especially for a lot of people, can be what's the word? Not daunting, but you got a lot of people posting about their success and what they're doing. Bullshit. And look at what was that, Tim? A lot of bullshit.
No, I didn't say that is the bullshit.
That was me. But I was
about to say ego, but yeah.
But see, that's the ego, right? And you see all of that getting pushed on LinkedIn, and you're like, far out, look what these guys are doing. And look at my business, the thing that I tried to start, it's not working. Why are they getting success and I'm not? So I guess that what I'm trying to get to now is like, how much of the background work do we not see? And then it's a double question here. But then how much of your mental capacity and mental space and having the right frame of mind play into your ability to be able to think clearly, to stay calm, to not get so caught up in your ego that you're now driving your business decisions, not from a place of calm and love and clarity, but you're doing it from a place of jealousy, comparison, and ego? So I might leave a comment on that.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic. It's I've got a few different things in mind regarding that question, and the ego side first, the more authentic side, and it comes back down to two different posts I did on LinkedIn, and that's what's spurring my thought process now. One being, cool, Bae Juice, get $1.5 million Woolworths deal over the course of 12 months revenue. How exciting! Takes their company yada yada, and it was one of those classic, man turns product into $1.5 million company. We've all seen them. And that got heaps of likes, heaps of comments. It was really cool. And then one day I thought, fuck it, I'm going to post a screenshot of our business balance 6 months ago. And it was 4 cents. And it was when
that
everyone
real?
thought, real as shit, real as. And I remember the moment, I remember where I was, I remember why I did it, going, one day we're going to piss ourselves at this. We had 4 cents in our account and everyone's telling us how much we're killing it. 4 cents. Like that's a piss take. So I screenshot and I posted and I had like 1,100 people like it and like 400 people comment on it. So just the authenticity of that, getting 1,100 likes, couldn't say it went viral, had 60,000 people view it, versus me glorifying, hey, we had a $1 million deal, look at us, couple of hundred likes. I think it's such a good example. And it's on LinkedIn, what we're actually talking about in two different ends of the spectrum. So I think we've always tried to really tell our narrative, our story, and our good and bad moments. And I think we've done that very well over time, because you're right, it can get egotistical and a bit crazy in that world. And I think, to answer your question, how do we sort of mentally deal with decisions and everything on a daily basis? Well, I think it's great that firstly we have each other, but it's been a grind. And it's, we talk about in 2017 was when we first drank the drink. It's 2021, middle of September, you could round up to, and we haven't got $1 out of this yet. Me and Liam haven't got $1, a cent. Sumin as well. The three of us have read this for 4 years, and we haven't made $1. We've poured money into it. We've poured other people's money into it. We've borrowed money from friends, family. We still borrow our parents' cars half the time because they've got petrol in it. So the word sacrifice comes up with the mental thinking as well, and it starts to beat you up after a while. Not beat you up, but it gets hard, like it's not seeing any return profit-wise for doing 30 hours. Originally, we're doing 60 hours a week, 70. It's a long haul, man. It's a long haul. And I think we're lucky that, so me and Liam live together. We're in different rooms right now for, the high-quality audio that's coming through. But
we go to bed as well, by the way.
Yeah. But we smash beers together. We watch footy. We punt. We hang out, we do all that dumb shit to keep us balanced and to make life still enjoyable. But, reading on LinkedIn about the 4 a.m. wake-ups, the 35-kilometre bike rides at 3 a.m., the 40-hour days, You don't need to do that to have a successful brand. You need to have a nice balance. We're good at solving problems. We work together. Liam's good at some shit. I'm good at that stuff. Let's stick to our roles. So I don't know whether that answered a long-winded question, but the sacrifice,
and in fact,
one
of the comments you just made, where people especially on social media, I think is full of this, is you got to do this. There's like this rule book, right? Oh, there's first it was like a 6 a.m. club, and then it became a 5 a.m. club. Yeah. And I think everyone's just trying to get one up on each other about the 4 a.m. club. And it's like you got to do all these things in order to be successful. Like, I'm just wondering how much validity is there to that, or is it just a ton of shit that people just say out there to make themselves feel better? Like, what is it?
Yeah, in my opinion, I reckon it's all shit. Like, I think, I just think with things like sort of process and routines and stuff, they're a bit like opinions. Everyone's got one, but and they should be different, and we shouldn't get offended that they're different, or someone else has a different process to you as well. If I am the biggest asshole before 10 a.m. Just because I'm tired, I need a big sleep. I take a bit of time to go. So don't bother. If you want to talk to me before 10 a.m. at your own peril. And I apologize. But at 2 o'clock or at 7 p.m. I'm the best guy ever. The moral of the story is that Tim is now a LinkedIn influencer.
I've seen your name around, man. I see you all the time.
And if you want to get in contact and get him to sort of do a post for your brand, just email his manager. His manager is liam@baejuice.com.au.
That was the purpose of that, but I'll take it if I get some extra cash out of it. There you go.
Exactly. I agree. Like the issue is when you watch a Gary Vee video, that he's obviously a genius. He's a hustler. He's a very, very hungry guy. That's why he's done well. But the way he sort of comes across his messaging is he's sort of very demanding on whoever he's speaking to. He's saying you're not doing well because and a lot of his stuff is good. I'll admit, but it's more so like I saw one the other day, and he's like, I promise you, like when I was 26, I thought 41 was a long time. A long time away. Now I'm 41. I feel exactly the same. I'm like, that has to be bullshit. There's no way you feel the same at 41 and 26, no matter what road you've taken. If there's only one way that you would feel the same at 26 if you go to sleep for 16 years or whatever. But we're on a rant here. I don't know where we are.
That's good. Rant's good.
The moral of the story is we don't change much. We don't change much. If the sun's out at 3 o'clock, 25 degrees, and we're in lockdown, and it's been, shit weather for,
I think the really good point out of all this is find what works for you. So for us at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, me and Liam are just tapping away, typing next to each other. So we know that we're good late. And then when we're cooking dinner, we've got our laptops out together, we'll have a red or a stubby, and we're talking about things, and going, shit, let's do this, We're firing. So we've realised that. So we don't force ourselves up at 6 a.m. to be entrepreneurs. We sleep till 10 a.m., go get a coffee together, chill out, talk about sport last night and what's going on, and then we tackle it after that. And then we work till 8 o'clock. So you got your 9 to 5. But for us, we work a little bit later and we have a bigger break in the middle. But we're happier, we're more efficient, and we get along with each other, and every day is great. So we have found what's worked for us. And we did try to push ourselves and get up at 7. And we weren't efficient, which is ironic, isn't it? You get up 4 hours before you usually wake up, and you're less efficient. Yeah. So just as a bit of a backlog for the audience, how we found what works, and we stick by that, and it's working.
You said before, Tim, that you and Liam doing all of this, you haven't seen a dollar after 4 years. Why are you doing all this?
I think there's definitely the end result. Financially, we've got some investors coming on soon, so I think we're almost there. There's always been a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think for us as like a 3-year-old business, really, considering it's January 2019, and we're almost there, I think we've always progressed well. So it's helped. When we didn't get a store for a while, we got a store. When we had a dull moment online, we had a big moment online. We've always seemed to take the next step, which has been quite satisfying. So the word growth, the growth's always been there. So you always feel the potential. We're always confident. We know where it's going, but it's just going to take a while. But at least we've had those baby steps. If it was just stagnant for 2 years until our big break, we'd be punching on with each other. But we've always had those nice little mini wins that just helped us get there. So I think that mentally that's helped us.
Going 100%. We've got 100% equity. So, there was probably an opportunity for us early days to, with at least the last 12 months to give up equity and therefore getting some money in the door and to play with. And, with that becomes maybe a bit of a sort of an allocation of wages for the both of us. But, we've got 100% of the business. We've grown it to this far. And, a lot of the money made by the business over the last sort of 18 months has gone back into growing it. So
every cent,
rather than sort of getting money from the outside, pretty much. So rather than going and getting $500,000 to spend on advertising and marketing and a full-time wage for the both of us at the last 6 months, we've just decided to put everything back into the brand. And I probably wouldn't change it, I've there's different case studies for other, but I know people who are sort of on wages. I just felt like you would get complacent. I would get complacent on a nice wage from day one. It would just feel like a job as well, So I think when we do get to the stage where we are on wages, it's now a milestone for our business rather than just day one,
Yeah. You mentioned, you talk about investment. How does a business go from doing what you've done to then having external investment come in with maybe an advisory board or something like that to really start whipping you guys into shape? So no more late nights and drinking every night. Like where does that come from? Do you go seek that? Does that not come on your door? Like maybe talk us through that process.
Well, Tim, I want you to touch on this most, but I'm going to sort of give you a nice segue into it because I feel like this is also another good point that we sort of have a mantra that we've got an event or something to go to that, it's not in our head, we're lying there, we're sitting at home at 4 o'clock and we go, can't be stuffed going to that. If that ever thought crosses your mind, you have to go to whatever it is. Because we've just felt with the way that, our business has run for 24 months or whatever it is, whenever there's a situation like that, something has come up from that event that we originally 3 hours before we're going, can't be bothered to that event, do that meeting, make that phone call, whatever it is, I can't be bothered. Something good has always happened. So with the investment stage, it was sort of like we had a 12-month discussion, and then it sort of was peaked around. I actually had a family wedding that I was going to, and Tim was just done a shift at the cafe and was probably in his bed in his jocks with this invitation to this talk. Watching the footy going, I can't be fucked going to that. And then he went to it, and then I'll let him continue.
So it was just in the city. So I moseyed on, I put my headphones in, got an Uber, and it was a VC, one of the founders of Frank Body and the CEO of Linktree. And they were doing a speech with a couple of guys I did a podcast with, so the funny business guys that were customers at the cafe and now I'd call friends. Yeah, cool. So I went and supported them. They were emceeing it. The audience was not dry, but there's they pulled me out of the audience and asked me to ask a question to the panel, and I was like, fuck, okay. I asked a few good questions, and at the end, one of the larger VCs, so Nick Crocker from Blackbird, we had a beer together, and he goes, mate, you never replied to my LinkedIn. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I sent you a picture of Bae Juice because my wife brought it because it looked sick, and I thought, wow, if my wife's come home, brought something because it looked cool without knowing the contents of it, that must be a pretty good brand. And so I looked through my LinkedIn while I was with him, and I had a missed message that I'd never replied to. And he goes, mate, are you looking to raise some capital? I'm like, well, kind of, actually. Like, yeah, at the moment, yeah, we are a little bit. This was sort of just the start of winter when we had a bit of a break between lockdowns then. And he goes, cool, we'll come to my office on Monday and we'll go from there. And this is like late Saturday night. So Monday morning was at his office, told him what we want to do, why, the last 24 months, what we want to do with ourselves. And he goes, cool, awesome. I will introduce you to this person, this person, this person. And as I got in the car, my phone went ping, 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 ping. And I had about 18 invitations to meetings that he's set up with all these other huge CEOs, angel investors, other VCs, CEOs of events companies. It was out of control. But he just loved the product. He loved our energy and he loved our story. So he just went out of his way. He wasn't himself interested in investing and introduced me to all these amazing people, checked in with me every now and then. And it's been a pretty great relationship over the sort of last 3 to 4 months. So
Blackbird's not involved with Bae Juice?
No, not involved with Bae Juice, but Nick's sort of been helping.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
So we sent him our deck. He goes, "No, get rid of that page. That's shocking. What are you doing? Nah, yeah, add this. Why haven't you got this in?" So we're very lucky that was our first baby step into investment. Very lucky. But I think to Liam's point has been at the right place at the right time and putting yourself out there and just getting up and doing it. So that was awesome. And we've been going through the process now where I've spoken to all the people who's introduced me to. Some love the FMCG space. Some just love the brand. So it's been a really, really awesome few months. We've got some cool little mentors that have helped us along the way as well. So we could be a couple of months off having sort of a good 6-figure amount in our account, some really, really strategic partners and even, sort of in Australia and overseas. So super exciting. Money's on the way. But I think just to touch on the investment for us and how we've gone through the process, it's been beautiful timing because we're not about to start. We're doing a shitload of sales in one retailer. Here's our forecast for the year. This is how much we've spent on our brand over the last 2 years. So let's say 200K. This is how much we've spent on our sales on payroll, 0. So as an investor, you're saying these guys have put $250,000 into building their brand and they've not paid themselves $1 for 2 years. There's some founders I probably want to back without, tooting our own horn, but, it's written.
Mate, 100%.
It's pretty obvious. And so every dollar, I go, what's your cash flow like? Yeah, we're pretty good, except we did a festival. We did an event. We did a collaboration. We did a gifting box. Oh, okay, no worries. So everything you do is for the brand. So right now, these investors are going, okay, should I invest in these guys? So anyone listening, putting yourselves in our shoes, you invest every dollar into the business. You've got great sales. You've got good retail. You've got a great narrative. Your website's clean. You've got good founders. You've all got your roles. Do I want to invest in this? Where's my money going to go? Advertising, more sales. So it's not a no risk, but we've de-risked an investor by the hard work we put in for 2 years, which entitles us to keep more equity and get more money for what they're giving us. Whereas if we did this 2 years ago, we had no sales, no reports, no experience, probably not as much business knowledge as we do now, just from being engulfed in it. And we would have lost, half to 3/4 of our business. So I think us holding off every minute for 2 years and going through the grind has put us in this position now where investor goes, these guys know the ins and outs of their business. They know their cost. They know what they need to grow the business. All they need is us to put in some money, take a step back and support them strategically when we need them. And that's the situation right now. So it was, it would have been great to get some money early, but hopefully that explanation has justified why it's good holding on, getting sales, getting stats, building a brand, then getting them in. We support, network, done, and then hopefully it's as smooth sailing as it sounds.
This is always difficult for us as well, because you're going, not only is the product unproven, which is always the difficult thing to do at the start of start of the brand to get any money on the door. You've got to prove it can sell, and if it hasn't sold, then how can you prove it? But we're also something unknown, Sometimes our parents even laughed at us with this hangover juice idea. So, a lot of people just thought we were sort of batshit crazy. So we thought, well, there's no point trying to get some money in the door to get stuff off the ground, because if your best mate thinks you're an idiot, then probably some rich investor who's got no idea about the cream Bae Juice probably going to think you're an idiot too.
So keep an eye. We're going to have some cool PR coming out soon with hopefully who our partners are.
There's a couple of things that really stand out to me there. One is not getting so caught up in what's going on in the short term and not feeling like you have to have the result in the next 3 months or in the next 6 months, because it sometimes might be the month after. To your point, if you're lying in bed, you don't want to go to that event. Ironically enough, it's that one event that allowed you to meet that one person, and then boom, it's snowballing from there on in. So I think that one thing really stands out to me. The other one, and I don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah,
sounds like you guys didn't even have a plan or anything. Meanwhile, you've got all these other companies strategizing and doing this and doing that and very meticulous about this and planning out. And it's like the outcome may or may not be the same, but what you've proven is that you're able to still achieve that same outcome without being so caught up and not so caught up in your own mind about how are we going to do this or how are we going to do that. It's kind of like allowing, just letting it run with the flow and letting things happen the way they're supposed to happen and when they're supposed to happen. It might sound a bit blasé, and a lot of people may not subscribe to that way of operating, but it sounds like Am I wrong in saying that you've
No, it works. No, it worked. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, sorry. That's just what worked for us. And like, depends what you say, what a plan is. Like when I think plan, I think boring meetings with, coming up with a business plan, a novel-sized document, which just gets, it just doesn't make sense to me. But obviously, people have done it before and it works, so well done. But our plan was just to make our brand look like it was busy, and get product into the hands of as many people as we could.
But I think the point there is, Liam, is that like there's no one way for any of this stuff. It's the way that works for you or me or whoever you are, the way you want to roll with it that way. There's no textbook that says you have to do it this way. And I think that's the message that I'm hearing from you guys.
And that's the best thing about starting your own business is it is your way. If you go and work for any business, especially maybe a successful one, there's processes involved with how you deliver on certain tasks. So yes, you can innovate when you're there at your sort of in your job and stuff like that, but you don't really get to do anything your way.
Adapt and everything, adapt and
which
learn.
I just think as well is why a lot of people piss off and don't stick around in jobs for more than 3 or 4 years,
Yeah. And the interesting thing you were talking about, Tim, before, where you chat with people that are starting their own business and you might say to them, go and knock on 50 doors or 100 doors. And when you catch up with them in 3 months or 6 months' time and you ask them how many doors they knocked on, either that idea is not there anymore, or they knocked on 2 doors and it didn't work and they gave up, or people didn't respond to their email. What I'm hearing from you is that there's like this tenacity that you kind of need to have, and just this thick skin that it's not necessarily you. Like, it's not that reporter that you were talking about. You reached out to on news. You reached out 3 or 4 times. You might think you're an absolute pain in the ass, and that's you starting to get up in your own mind. But you really didn't put yourself in her shoes, where she's maybe got a million things on. She probably didn't even read your email properly, and then just having respectfully and professionally, and not being a pain in the ass, and just checking in,
that's it.
Being completely open about it as well.
I think it's just being all in. I think that's what it is. You got to be all in. And I think one thing we always say, it's my favorite thing to tell younger brands, is if there's a really cool marketing campaign or collaboration or event you can be involved with for $2,000 and you've got $1,000, you say yes. Do you say no, or do you go get another $1,000? You know what I mean? I probably didn't nail that as well as I could have. But
I get it.
But for us, it's we say yes to everything and then work backwards from there. We go borrow $2,000, or we go quickly do some sales, or we re-invoice everyone saying tat, let's go. And then we do the collaboration, we do the activation, we get more followers. Someone pops up saying, hey, I saw you at that sick rooftop festival. Let's do something together as well. And you're like, sweet, let's do it. That's building a brand. That's risking it for the biscuit. That is how you build a brand. You just got to go for it. You don't tread water. You don't wait for everything to blow up. You say yes, you make it happen, you follow up, you leverage. I think that's the big one there. And people don't go all in. They'll say no to it. They'll wait 2 more months until maybe they got enough cash flow, and then they'll try it. But it's just bang, bang, bang. You just got to go all in. You got to jump in.
Well, I was gonna ask you. Sorry, Liam, were you gonna say something?
No. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's like the number one piece of advice that you would give? I think you've hit the nail on the head, man. We'll wrap it up here. Tim, Liam, awesome chatting with you boys. Thank you so much. Good luck with the brand. I think you guys have got a cool brand. I think your marketing's on point. It sounds like you've got some investors coming on board, which is awesome. And hopefully you find a pretty good PR agency that's willing to jump on board. Make sure you get your stock in, man, because I was 3 or 4 Dan Murphy's stores are like, out of stock.
Okay.
So.
Leave it with us. We're on it.
All right, boys. Good chatting.
We're pretty close to getting our own bloody ship, I reckon, and becoming full-time sailors.
I love it.
Thanks,
boys. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Tough.
Cheers.